Chapter 95, the Ephod. Exodus chapter 26, verses 6 to 12. And they shall make the ephod of gold, of blue and purple, of scarlet and fine twined linen, with cunning work. It shall have the 2 shoulder pieces thereof joined at the 2 edges thereof, and so it shall be joined together. And the curious girdle of the ephod, which is upon it, shall be of the same, according to the work thereof, even of gold, of blue and purple and scarlet, and fine twined linen. And thou shalt take 2 onyx stones, and grave on them the names of the children of Israel, 6 of their names on one stone, and the other 6 names of the rest on the other stone, according to their birth. With the work of an engraver in stone, like the engraving of a signet, shalt thou engrave the 2 stones with the names of the children of Israel. Thou shalt make them to be set in ouches of gold. And thou shalt put the 2 stones upon the shoulders of the ephod for stones of memorial unto the children of Israel, and Aaron shall bear their names before the Lord upon his 2 shoulders for a memorial. Exodus chapter 28, verses 6 to 12. The ephod and the breastplate marked the high priest, and the ephod described in Exodus chapter 28, verses 6 to 12, is the high priest's particular garb. It was set apart from the kind of ephod worn by Samuel in 1 Samuel chapter 2:18 and by David in 2 Samuel chapter 6, verse 14. See also 1 Chronicles chapter 15, verse 27. What Samuel and David wore is described as a linen ephod. The ephod was a kind of coat or vest whose fabrics were the same as those of the curtains and the veil of the tabernacle, with the addition of the gold thread. There was thus an emphasized connection between the high priest and the sanctuary. The inclusion of gold threads in the fabric's weave signifies royal power. The high priest was the spiritual ruler of the community and thus represented royal authority. He was, in this sense, God's ruler on earth. At the same time, because the high priest's breastplate carried the engraved names of all the tribes, he was their representative before God. He was, thus, the mediator between God and man, and was a type of Christ in his incarnation, the union of God and man in one person as the great mediator. When the high priest was invested into his position, he was anointed with oil. It was poured over him and also applied to his forehead in the form of an X, one type of cross. The word ouches in verse 11 is an Elizabethan word for a clasp or similar ornamental aspect of a garment. The high priest was, in a strict sense, the only true priest in Israel. All other priests were his deputies. On this analogy, Roman Catholicism has seen the Pope as the only true priest or presbyter, and all others as his deputies. The Reformation, however, insisted on the high priestly office of Christ and the status of deputies or ministers for all earthly deputies or ministers. The garb of the high priest had a resemblance to the clothing of kings. This emphasized God as king and the high priest as his deputy. Even more, it must be said that neither Israel then nor the church now can ever rightly see themselves as other than deputies whose status depends on faithfulness. The mediatorial status of the high priest was depicted in the engraved stones on the shoulders of the ephod. These stones were to be carefully engraved by skilled craftsmen with the names of the 12 tribes. As the mediator of the covenant people, the high priest entered the Holy of Holies, bearing their names as their representative. Thus, he represented the whole family of faith. He carried their names over his heart. Hebrews chapter 7 verses 25 to 28 says of Jesus Christ, "Wherefore he is able also to save them to the uttermost that come unto God by him, seeing he ever liveth to make intercession for them. For such an high priest became us, who is holy, harmless, undefiled, separate from sinners, and made higher than the heavens, who needeth not daily as those high priests to offer up sacrifice, first for his own sins and then for the people's. For this he did once, when he offered up himself. For the law maketh men high priests which have infirmity, but the word of the oath, which was since the law, maketh the Son, who is consecrated for evermore." Our high priest, first, is Jesus Christ. He is the perfect man and God incarnate. Being sinless, he needs no daily sacrifice of atonement for his sins, as did all Hebrew high priests. Second, what the old high priests did typified what Christ in his coming would accomplish, atonement for sin. Third, we have God's own oath, Hebrews chapter 7, verses 21 and 22, that our high priest is efficacious in his work for all time and eternity. We have thus not a daily repeated act, but a once and for all atonement. Fourth, the consecration of our high priest is for evermore. The end of the high priestly function in Israel has a curious history. Its greatest power and the beginning of its corruption came with the Maccabees. The Romans, on taking over Judea, helped further the corruption of the high priest, while increasing the nominal powers of the office. The unhappy fact was that more than a few welcomed this corruption, because corruption in high places puts leaders on a level with those beneath them. Many find it easier to relate to someone as evil as themselves than to their betters. In this respect, it is revealing to view the attitude of the Islamic peoples of Malay towards Jesus. The Islamic form of Jesus is Isa. For some of these peoples, a sinless prophet means an effeminate man, and hence the name Isa is only given to girls, apparently on the assumption that they are compelled to be good. This is a reversal of the whole moral order. Strength is associated with sin. We have a parable exalting the ugly over the beautiful, as Dr. David Estrada Herrero has shown. In one sphere after another, values are turned upside down. I do not regard it as fanciful to say that the stress on plainness and even ugliness in churches is related to this trend. The careful attention to and stress on beauty and glory in God's requirements concerning worship go unheeded today. The emphasis on plainness and cheapness is entirely non-biblical. Some people seem to have an apocryphal book in their heads which they use to undermine Scripture. These verses deal with one article of clothing alone, and they require beautiful and costly workmanship. At every point with respect to worship, we have a similar emphasis. All this is closely tied to the radical prohibition against all blemished offerings to God. God cannot be given our second best, only our best. Anything else, he declares, is an act of contempt for him. But this is not all. What we give must cost us something. For this reason, while deer were classified as clean animals, they were not acceptable as a sacrifice because they were costless to us. No long-term work and effort went into such an offering. Gifts or sacrifices thus came out of the realm of work and production. The work of engravers is here mandated. More than a few times we see skilled artisans associated with the construction of the tabernacle. The arts are closely linked to faith and at times to worship. In verse 5, we see that even the high priest's girdle or belt is a work of art and of costly materials. God obviously sees no virtue in cheapness in things pertaining to his house and worship. Too long, men have tried to read all kinds of spiritual meanings and allegories into such plain words as those of our text. After the Babylonian captivity, God told Judea through the prophet Haggai how he felt about their priorities. Then came the word of the Lord by Haggai the prophet, saying, Is it time for you, O ye, to dwell in your sealed houses, and this house lie waste? Now therefore, thus saith the Lord of hosts, Consider your ways. Ye have sown much, and bring in little. Ye eat, but ye have not enough. Ye drink, but ye are not filled with drink. Ye clothe you, but there is none warm. And he that earneth wages to put it into a bag with holes. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, Consider your ways. Go up to the mountain, and bring wood, and build a house, and I will take pleasure in it, and I will be glorified, saith the Lord. Ye looked for much, and lo, it came to little. And when ye brought it home, I did blow upon it. Why, saith the Lord of hosts? Because of mine house that is waste, and ye run every man unto his own house. Therefore the heaven over is stayed from dew, and the earth is stayed from her fruit. And I called for a drought upon the land, and upon the mountains, and upon the corn, and upon the new wine, and upon the oil, and upon that which the ground bringeth forth, and upon men, and upon cattle, and upon all the labour of the hands. Haggai chapter 1, verses 3 to 11.